Today's the 3rd of October, 2012. We're here in the Isaac C. Griswold Library with the Historical Society of Whitehall, interviewing Frank Kingsley. My name is Ray Brown, and with us are Gary Hart, a volunteer at the Historical Society, Carol Senecal, the town and village historian, and her husband Wayne. And Frank, I guess we could start off by saying you're a veteran of the Korean War era.
First, the Second World War.
Second World War?
Yeah.
Okay.
In '45, I went in the service.
Okay. And how did that come about? Can you?
I enlisted as soon as I got out of high school, because one part of the action.
Okay. It was just about over at that time.
Not quite. Japan hadn't surrendered. Europe.
So when you went into service, you went to, where did you go for basic training?
I went in on an 18-month enlistment. And the first thing they did was send me to Clemson, down in South Carolina, to school. I don't know why, but they did. And then I went to basic after that. I was there for one semester in the fall of '45. The fall of '45. And then to basic. And to be perfectly honest with you, I'd forgotten where the basic training was. But then I went to in New Jersey to a school for telephone technicians.
The branch of the service was the U.S. Army?
The Army, yeah.
Okay.
And I'd achieved the rank of private.
And so right after high school, into the Army, Clemson, New Jersey for basic.
Pardon me?
In New Jersey for basic training too, do you think?
Basically, yeah. There was another camp for basic, but it was a long time ago. And the basic training, I told Wayne, the only thing I really and truly remember about basic training is being taken out on a hike with our group, an overnight hike with a pup tent and staying, and we were they were going to teach us how to live in the wilderness. And I saw the sky was getting dark. I knew we were going to have a big storm. And so the guy I was with, I said, pitch that tent on where there's a little slope, and we're going to dig a trench around it. Why? I said, just do it. And so we dug, and we ditched our tent. And we were the only ones the next day that weren't soaking wet. And they sent trucks out to bring us back. Very, soldiers, but that was my Boy Scout training coming to the fore.
Now, what time of year was this? If you entered in January and spent a semester, then you would have been at.
Yeah, but it would have been in the winter of 1946.
Okay.
And then I went to that school up in New Jersey. Not Fort Dix. It wasn't Fort Dix. It was a Signal Corps school. I mean, a Signal Corps base at that time for the Army, and from there to California to go overseas. And when I got out there, they were looking the records over again, I think, and I got called into the colonel's office. And he said, Private Kingsley, we seem to have a little problem here. You're on an 18-month enlistment. I said, yes. And he says, well, you have to have at least a 3-year time to be going with this unit, so we're going to have you extend. I said, really? and no, and I said, can you show me where it says I'm required to do that? Permanent KP.
Then you didn't go?
No, but the gods were on my side. They forgot to put my name on the roster. So I was in the KP barracks for a couple of months, and I'd met a fellow that lived out there, was a friend of or nephew of one of the people from Whitehall, and he'd come in and pick me up, we go down in San Francisco in the top of the Mark and Fisherman's Wharf. We're having a great time, and come back, and because you were in this barracks, you could sleep all day because they thought you worked all night because you didn't keep track of what you were doing. And so that went on for about 3 months. And finally, I got called back to the colonel. He says, what the heck are you doing? I says, following orders. So you told me to report, go over there and await orders, and I did. How'd you like to get out of the service? I says, fine with me. So I got a discharge.
After you had been in for how many of the 18 months?
18 months, yeah. I got out in about 16, I guess, or 17. But, but that qualified me for the GI Bill, and then I went to Syracuse.
Okay, so the GI Bill, you used that to go to college at Syracuse University?
Yeah. And it covered the first 3 years at Syracuse. And then I joined ROTC, and that covered the 4th year. And then I had to go back in Air Force. It was Air Force ROTC. And this way, I got a commission and went into the Air Force.
Okay, so you went in as a second lieutenant?
Yes.
Okay.
And then down to MacDill Air Force Base in Tampa, and that was fine. Then out to, we took some tests and got surveyed, and I got picked for Air Force Intelligence. So I got sent to Lowry Field out near in Colorado, and I was there for 3, maybe 4 months training, and then back to MacDill. Mm-hmm. And then the group, the 307th Bomb Wing, was sent to Okinawa. So I went to Okinawa with them, and as a briefing, and brief the crews before they flew, interrogate them, if you want to use that word, question them about what they saw and what they did, and
is that what they refer to as debriefing now?
Yeah, debriefing. Yes, that's a good way to put it.
So this was in 1950?
No, a little bit later than that, because I finished Syracuse in 51, 52, and 53.
Okay.
That was it.
Okay.
And then, so basically what I was doing over there was working with the bombing crews and stuff, and they were flying every 3 nights into Korea. Mm-hmm. So you had to, prepare a flight's thing. You give them. One thing they warned us about very carefully was there was a tendency to say, you're part of the group. We take off at such and such a time, and we go to an altitude of so many feet, and we fly in, and then you can't expect to get flak and fights at that point. But it was funny how we went from we to you.
Now, were you were part of a separate group than?
No, the 307th Bomb Wing.
Okay, but you were intelligence officer with them?
Yes.
Okay. And at that point you were second lieutenant?
Yeah, first lieutenant by then.
By then, okay. And how long were you in Okinawa?
About a year or so. Mm-hmm. Because I had all that previous, because I was only on a 2-year commitment from ROTC.
Because only 1 year.
And so then, when I finished that, I went to Cornell.
On the GI Bill?
Yeah,
that
because it
extended,
reactivated the GI Bill by their second term of service.
Okay.
So they helped me a lot getting through law school.
Okay, so law school at Cornell.
Cornell, yeah.
Okay. Now, when you were in the Air Force, do you remember any special people that you were involved with over there? Was there anybody that
I remember
really
a fellow
sticks
from
out?
Whitehall, Harry Ream. I had dinner with him at the Officers Club the night before he had a mission, mm-hmm. and he didn't come back. That was kind of a... But and some of the fellows that I got acquainted with, I still have contact with.
Okay.
The ones that are still alive.
Mm-hmm. So he was the only person from Whitehall that you remember being in service with?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Now, do you attend reunions, or are you a member of service organizations like the American Legion or VFW?
Yeah, all of them.
All of them. So-
VFW and the American Legion, yes.
And the reunions? Do you have reunions with?
No, just the local VFW and in fact, there's no VFW in Whitehall,
Anymore.
so it was in South Glens Falls. But I'm not active in it anymore.
Okay.
I stay a member of the Legion here, but I'm not a very active member in that now.
So you came out of service as a lieutenant,
Yes,
okay? And were you in the reserves after that?
no,
No, you were discharged completely.
yep.
Okay. Is there anything that you remember about some of the debriefings that particularly stick in your mind?
Not really.
No, it was, okay. Okay. Is there, any questions?
I just wondered, there must have been some very interesting stories coming out of those debriefings on those, and you don't remember, can't remember any of them?
Well, I remember a lot of people. I remember Sergeant Rolfe on Okinawa. And, he was a master sergeant with as many stripes as you can get on a uniform, and he was supposed to be working under me in there. So I asked him, Sarge, would you mind if we have just a little private off-the-record conversation? He said, not at all. I said, look, I know you know 10 times more about this than I do. I might have a bar, but can't compete with you, knowledge or abilities or anything. So I'll do my job, but if you think I need a little steering to the left or to the right or something, please tell me. And so I got along with him beautifully, and he kept me on the straight and narrow, and it worked out nice.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Is there any questions?
After you got out and you became a lawyer,
Yes.
when did you meet your wife and everything and set up in Whitehall? Give us some details, please.
She was from Ticonderoga, and she's since died. She had Alzheimer's, and she's passed away. And I have another companion,
Now-
How many children did you have?
2 to speak of.
When did you set up in Whitehall as a lawyer?
1963.
When did you retire?
About 5 years ago now. That would mean, what,
When did you leave Okinawa?
when
did you leave Okinawa?
2007 maybe?
Any interesting cases that you had?
Did you ask her when you left?
What'd you deal in? Real estate mainly, or
General practice, real estate.
have anything interesting in
I
that?
was with the DA's office for a number of years,
Okay.
and I pledged to secrecy on those cases.
Okay.
When you were in Okinawa, did you live on a base or did you live in town or
In the barracks,
you lived in a barracks?
pretty soft life because we had little girls that came in and took care of everything.
Okay, that was leading to
Cleaned-
that question.
Cleaned your room, which you hardly had a chance to mess up, and
When my brother was in Japan, he had similar living conditions. Only he
do
did
your
not-
uniforms and all that sort of stuff, yeah. But it was kind of expensive. I think it was $10 a month.
When did you leave Japan? When did you leave Japan?
I'm sorry, I'm not hearing you.
When did you leave Japan?
When did I leave Japan? I wasn't in Japan very much, really. I was on Okinawa. And we did go from Okinawa to Japan when we came back, but I came back and I'd have to, I can't figure it out.
Oh, was the war over? Was Korean War over by that time?
No, but it was wrapping down. It was just about over. I don't know if it's still over.
53?
When did it end?
53.
It never did.
It never did end, did it really?
That's right.
Now, you mentioned about your brother being in Korea, and you're trying to get a whole, together in Japan, but they were.
Dick, my brother Dick was in the Army, and he was a forward observer, which is, they had about 50% casualties in Korea, and he wasn't one of the casualties, but he was as a forward observer, and was supposed to meet him in Japan. So I flew to Japan. It's you could get rides pretty easy if you were in the Air Force, and to meet him. When I got there, I got this message that his unit was pinned down and he wasn't able to get out of Korea. And so I came back because I didn't want to use all my leave time up back to Okinawa, and then about a month or two later, he contacted me and said that he was available to go. So I went back up and spent a week with him in Japan. That was a wonderful week, yeah.
Now, when you went back into service, you went in the Air Force. Was there a
Yes.
reason you went back to the Air Force rather than the Army?
Yes, because it was an Air Force ROTC at Syracuse.
And that's all that they had there? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I would have rather been in the Air Force anyway. It's
Okay.
How did the Japanese people treat you?
my hearing is terrible.
My voice is low.
Yeah,
How did the Japanese people treat you?
the Japanese people treat me. The week we were in Japan, it couldn't have been much nicer. It was great, but Okinawa, the people were very good there. I never had a bit of trouble with anybody.
Now, if your brother in Korea received some leave time, R&R, did you get similar leave time from Okinawa? Or was it all counted as your regular leave when you...
Well, they didn't, I don't think they actually counted that my first trip up. Some of these fellas that kept the records were a little sloppy. But I did go to, while I was on Okinawa, in the duty line, I went to Japan for an escape and evasion course, because that was the other thing I didn't tell you. We also had to get a escape and evasion, and we weren't very good at it because nobody ever got out. But you had to tell the crews if they were shot down what they might be able to do, and how, how to signal for help from the shore. But it wasn't very successful. We camped on Mount Fujiyama for a while, which was quite interesting. But it was.
Now, that course, the course that you went to in Japan was given by, who gave
The
that
Air
course?
Force.
Wasn't like an intelligence agency, or it
No.
was Air Force personnel that gave it?
I'm not positive if it was an outside group. Basically it was Air Force people, just that were in that line of business, trying to teach us what to tell the crews.
Is there anything else?
Amen.
Well, I want to thank you, Frank, for coming in and doing this with us. It didn't hurt that much. I don't, on
I'll
my
get over
side. But we appreciate it very much.
Okay, I
because we-
appreciate your fellas' efforts to do this.
Thank you.